Hey there guys and gals, it's me nirex and welcome to Intermediate C++ Programming Tutorial. So in today's video we'll be talking a little bit about classes and what they are and what they represent and how we can work with them, the entirety of it. Okay, so before we get right into it, let's just open our project up and I want to show you something. So the way you create a class, and basically what a class is just a header and a C++ file. That's all it is. It's a structure that data is stored in. Special structure that you make. So the way to create a class is either you go by add new item, add a .h and a .cpp, have them have the same name, or easier than that, just right click on any of these folders or in the project and add new item or add class down below, and then you can just click on this class, name it here, or don't, it doesn't matter, and then you can name it here as well. So I can name it something like our first class. And as you can see, I'm doing it in camel case way, but the camel case is a bit different. I'm using capital in the first letter. Now, there is a base class here that we don't give a damn about. There's a virtual destructor and an inline thing. We also don't care about that. So when you say inline, there's no CPP. Virtual destructor is for the ones that usually are to be inherited from. But we don't care about that. So just yet. And when you do that, you can then this tab gets open and you can do whatever you want. We still don't care about that. All right. So we have the name of our class here. When we hit OK, as you can see, I have two files. But if I try to build my application, I'm definitely going to get an error. The reason to that is I don't have an entry point. As you can see, come on, dude, just doing two files. So as you can see, it's giving me the error that's saying entry point must be defined. So I'm just going to go ahead and create yet another C++ file, source.cpp, should be good enough, and do void main or int main. Doesn't really matter. Just some simple shit like that. And when I run it, as you can see, one succeeded. All good, all dandy. So now let's get into our class. I'm just going to do it. I'm sorry. Double tap like this right here. I'm sorry for the coughing. I've got a cold, so yeah. Alright, so this is our class. This is the entirety of our class. Now, a class is nothing but a representation of something that exists in the real world. So whenever we want to represent something that exists in the real world, inside our program, we use a class. Either something that exists in the real world or a conceptual thing. Alright? So, our first class, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this, and then I'm going to be renaming this our first class. So the way you create a class is quite simple. All you need to do is write class, and then there are two ways. Of course, you can use the snippet class tab and it'll generate the entire thing for you, or you can just write a name. I'm going to write human. Class human. So human is an ideal thing in our world. We are all humans. We have different attributes, but we are all human, right? Now, every class can have two things. Classes can have attributes and members. They can have, attributes and methods. So attributes are what define us, okay, like eye color, age, or hair color, or nationality, or whatever the hell. And methods are what we are capable of doing. Driving a car, for instance. So I can have an attribute. Let's say I have an int named age. Just like that. I have another int, or rather why not? I have another int named... what do I have? Oh yeah, let's say I have a C-type string, name, another C-type string, surname, another C-type string, I don't know, SSN, whatever the hell. Alright, so age, name, surname, SSN, whatever you can think of. So these are what I have. These are different. Every human has these, alright? Unless you live in, like, you know, in jungle or something. You don't really have SSN then, but let's just actually take that out. So every human has an age, every human has a name, every human has a surname. That's a general thing. Everybody has these in the entire world. Now, in one way or another, they all have these. They all have things that can be placed into these places, or can be defined as name and surname. Now, this is a basic human, alright? This is a schema for the human, alright? But it's not any human. Now, we will get to that soon. So it's just a scheme for a human, alright? Any human that you want to have will be obeying this structure, this data structure. Now, the class can also have functions, or methods rather. So, functions outside a class are called functions. This is an important note. So this is a function, but inside the class we call them methods. Alright, so method is here, function is there, and attribute is here. Alright, so these are attributes. These guys inside this guy is method or member functions. Alright, so they're either called methods or member functions, and we're going to learn about pointers to member functions and pointers to functions and all that good stuff. Okay, so methods. Now every human can also do things. Alright? For instance, we can do something like walk. Every human can walk. Void, let's say drive. No, every human can learn to drive. Alright, so every human can walk, every human can drive. Let's actually return a bool to see if driving was successful. If it was successful, then we'll return a true. Or if walking is successful. If you're like 1 year old, you probably can't walk. Alright, so easy peasy, just like that, we create a class. It has attributes, it has functions, methods or member functions. Now, the way you create a function, as you can see, it's already empty, alright? So you can either do it like this, or in a better way, you can bring the definition to the CPP class. So the .h class is, as usual, for declaration, and the .cpp is for definition. The way you do that, there are two ways, the easy way and the hard way. Well, the kind of hard way. It's not, sorry, it's not really that hard. So the way you do that is you first include this guy, you have to, and then you do return type, name of the function, just the way you do it a normal way. But the difference is you need to add the name of the class with 2 columns before the name of the function. And that's it. There you have it. You have your entire thing up and running. And as you can see, the green zigzag line is gone. It's no longer there. It's still here because we haven't implemented drive yet, but yeah. So let's just return true just to avoid any errors. Now that was the slightly harder way, which is really not that hard. The easier way, if you're using Visual Studio, is to just hold Control, press dot, and then enter. And there you have it. Already there for you. And this is how you create functions, and then you can call those functions, which we will get to pretty soon. Alright, but before we get to any functions, what I want to talk to you about are 3 things. Alright, private, protected, and public. Alright, so these are sections, or rather segments of our class that we determine what to be, or should they be visible to, or whom should they be visible to. For instance, every class has a public section, or public section has a protected section and a private section. Just like us humans who have public parts and private parts, we don't really show our private parts to everybody. We only show them to friends, which we will talk to, which we will talk about pretty soon. You can use the keyword friend, and I've used it so in several of my projects. It's not really, I'm not really fond of it. I'm not really fond of using that keyword, but you gotta do what you gotta do, boy. So yeah. Anyhow, public section, we have public, we have private, and we have, protected. So protected, private. Now the access, these determine who can access whatever comes under it. Alright, so all of these guys are private. I'm sorry, are public, because they're they're defined under a public segment. If I were to take these guys out, put them here, which is a part of my standard, public should always come after private. Now everybody in C#, everybody who has coded in C# is like, yeah, we determine the privates first, then public comes. But honestly, if someone is reading your code, do they really give a damn about your private things in the class? No, they really don't. They want to see what they can access, and we'll get there. Don't worry about it. So public is what others can see. And by others means, I mean other classes than human, alright? Outside of human. What can see these? Everybody, because it's public. What the children can see. Now, I'm just going to put a star here. We're going to talk about this guy in inheritance. Don't worry about it. This is a to-do video, alright? This is not for now. This is for later. And then there's the private part. What no one can see. Alright, nobody's gonna see your private parts, right? Unless they're a friend. Friends can see. Which we will talk about in another video, not just yet. So this will be for another video as well. So this is a to-do video. Alright, so friends or friend keyword is also a to-do video. Children is for a to-do videos for the inheritance, so this guy is going to be for the friend keyword, or rather friend keyword. And this guy is going to be for inheritance topic. Alright, so no, it's kind of like that. Alright, so these are what we call access modifiers, and by default, classes don't have access modifiers. Alright, this guy right here means it's private. So if you start a class by private, you basically have done nothing to change anything. By default, whatever you put under this guy right here means it's private. You know, just like that. Easy peasy. Alright, so this was a super basic introduction to class. Alright, we will be talking about constructors, destructors, copy constructors, move semantics, you know, operator overloading, you know, all that goes to the rule of, all that BS, rule of 3, rule of 5, RAII, you know, all that good stuff. Soon enough, not just yet. All I want you to know is that you have classes, alright? And classes represent things that are human, or I mean, damn, things that can be found in the real world. Alright, so if you find a rock, you can probably make a class of rock. Like this. So class rock, not Dwayne Johnson, I'm sorry. So we have public, thank you, and it probably has like an int weight and another int, maybe mass, I don't know. And if you're really interested in physics, yeah, you can do something like that, but it doesn't really matter. And yeah, we'll get to encapsulation, where we talk about that these guys, these members, they should always, all the damn time, be under private. Just don't worry about it. All right? So there is a reason I put them here. Okay, so public, protected, private. You know, human, just like us humans. This human also has public and private parts, and we put whatever is in private parts, like length of height. Yeah, I just wrote that. Or simpler, height. All right, height is private, just as the length of thing, length of the height. So yeah, whatever. So yeah, we have private, we have protected, and protected and public. I think I've over-explained it a lot. Alright, so how the hell do we use a class? First off, we need to include it. Alright, we need to include the header that is defined in. So just like I included something like string, which is also kind of a class. Alright, so string. This is kind of a class. This is a kind of a Microsoft class. See, it's a using basis string, and basis string, if you peek it, you know, class basis string. So yeah, it's kind of a class. All right, now it's a very different kind of class. It's a template class, but we don't worry about that. But yeah, so string is basically a class. All right, and just as we used the header to use a class, we include our first header. Our first header like this, to be able to use whatever is inside it. Alright? Easy peasy, quite, you know, simple. Now, the way we use it is, if you remember, when we wanted to create variables, let's say I want to create an int. I say int I equals 5, alright? Simple, easy peasy. Or just easier than that, int I. I have created an integer of type I. With the name I, alright? I've created an integer named I. Simple and easy. Same thing with a class. So when you create a class, you are creating nothing more than a data type. This guy right here is nothing more than a goddamn data type. So I can just say human h, and that's it. Int I human h. All we have to do is that. Alright? We don't care about this guy right here. We don't care about the equal or the assignment sign. We don't care about the initialization just yet. We will talk about that in another video. For now, all we care about is this guy. Alright, so human h, whatever. Int I, float f. So just as we create some of these guys, we can create one of these guys. And do make notes. Classes starts with, or at least in my standard classes, start with a capital letter. Camel case in capital letters. And that's how we create a class. Now, how do we use a class? So, as you may have already noticed, classes have methods and members. Now, just for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to put them here, okay, just to make it simpler. And I'm going to take out a drive away. So, it's just going to have an age, and it's just going to have one method, walk. Alright? One method, one member. And this guy's going to return a bool. So, the way you do it is hit H, dot, and with the dot operator you can see these two guys right here, and yes, dot is an operator. So h dot, we can do age equals 10. Now age in our, well, it's bad naming, so let's just do human with capital, or let's just make it a better one. So John, alright, John's age is like 24. Alright, John is 24 years old. John can also walk. Simple as that. So this is how we assign data to this guy, and this is how we use functions, or rather call functions. Now we can also use that, so I can say int I, or rather, if I already have I, so I equals John dot age. Quite simple. Oh, I'm sorry. Quite simple, quite easy. So I'm just using an attribute inside John. Alright, that came out pretty bad. And then I can call a function, or a rather member function, within the class of John. Within the class of human, but an instance of the human class, of our human class, John. Okay, so here's the thing that a lot of people make mistakes when they're first learning about classes. So there are two things. There's a class and there's an object. Alright. This guy right here is what we call a class. It's like an empty form that we need to fill in, okay? It's like a scheme. It's like a blueprint. Like, okay, if you want to have a human, your human needs to have these two, alright? That's basically it. Now, I want to create a human. So I create a human, and the name of the human is John. Now, John is an object of the class type human, just like int is an object of type int. Well, not really, but they are kind of the same thing. Alright, I'm sorry if I say like these are teaching mistakes. I have to make them just so you can understand it easier. But yeah, don't worry about it. They are just teaching mistakes. I am intentionally sometimes making mistakes. Right? Like in the case of pointers. It's not really a box in the box, but I explain it like that so you understand it better. Anyhow, so this is a class, this is an object. Alright? A class, you can't really do something like this just yet. You can't really do dot walk. It's just going to give you an error. You can't even do something like that. It's still going to give you an error. There's a reason to it, and I will talk to you about that a bit more. It's yeah, we will talk about that operator soon enough, not just yet. So yeah, this is an object. This is a class. Quite easy, quite simple. And the way we initialize classes is kind of different. We can do something like this. And then we have initialized our class. So if I just run it, I'm not going to pause it or anything. You can just see that it builds correctly and it goes through with ease. Come on, dude. Thank you, my dude. And there we go. So as you can see, there is no error. Everything is good. Everything is easy. We just have created a value type of John. We're going to use that pretty goddamn good. Alright. And that's basically it for this video. I hope you understood what classes are all about. Pretty goddamn easy and simple. They're just a representation of something in the real world, or some conceptual thing that we want to talk about. Or rather, we want to bring in our code. Like, say we have an object class, and that object class has a mass or a density integer, or a calculate density function, or whatever. So possibilities are endless. If you can imagine it, you can put it in a class. Simple as that. And you can just represent it like this. Anyhow, that's been it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, do ask them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, do leave a like and maybe even subscribe. That would help a lot. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.